got a bunch of this wire garland. Hello, and welcome back to the vlog. Today, or this evening rather, is the evening that we start outdoor Christmas decor. I've got about 18 wreaths that I need to fluff and tie ribbons for. I ended up getting this 1-inch thick wine-colored velvet ribbon. So I'm going to use this to tie a long loop that I will hang from a cup hook. I'm going to screw into the top of the window frame. And then I'm also going to use this to tie a big like floppy bow that will hang from the top edge of the wreath and kind of like drape into the center. Each of these rolls is 25 yards and I got 3 of them. And I think that should cover me with a little bit of extra. I was just outside in the pitch dark with my measuring tape here to try and figure out how long the loop needs to be so that each wreath hangs dead center in the window. So I was just practicing on this wreath here, and from the wire all the way to the top of the knot that I created is about 24 inches. So I'm gonna go outside and test this. I won't bring you with me because it's so dark and you won't be able to see anything, but I'm just gonna make sure this hangs where I want it to. If this is looking good lengthwise, then I'm going to experiment with the bow so I can figure out how much ribbon I need for the loop and then how much ribbon I need for the bow. Then I can just cut all of the ribbon to size and then kind of assembly line tying everything together. I have seen some people hang their wreaths by opening the top sash of the window, sliding the wreath and the ribbon out, and just leaving a little tail that they close in the top of the window. And while that would work beautifully, half the windows in our house actually don't even open. They are original windows, they are painted shut. So for those windows, it's not an option, and I want them all to look the same from the outside. It seems like previous owners must have hung wreaths on some of the front windows because there are already hooks in the window frames outside, but I do need to add them to some of the windows in the back side of the house and upstairs. So for the bow, I've been playing around with a few different techniques here, and I think so far the best option is to spread the branches where you want to tie the bow, so there's a little bit of clearance, and then fold your ribbon in half. This is 60 inches, so I have extra ribbon so my tails are really long. Take the loop at the top and wrap it around the wreath wire, and then take the 2 tails and slide those through the loop like this, so it kind of tightens around the wire. Now it's attached, and you want to keep the velvet side on the outside, so make your first loop with the velvet facing out. Take your second side and wrap that around with the velvet facing out. When you get in the back, you're going to twist it halfway so that when you create a second loop to pull through the part you just wrapped around, the velvet is still facing out. And then I loosely pull it tight, but at this point you have some adjusting to do. So I kind of like tighten the bow a little bit, adjust the tail, make sure the velvet is facing out, tighten my loops a little bit, see how it looks, keep twisting and kind of adjusting the ribbon, always making sure the velvet is facing out. Because the inside of the ribbon is like a lighter color, which isn't that bad, you'll still see it a little bit, but as much as possible, I want to make sure that when this is hanging, you see more of the velvet side than the inside of the ribbon. Once you're happy with the general placement of this and how it's looking, then you can kind of take a few of these extra branches and just sort of like spread them over behind the bow so the wreath looks like it's full. And then when you hang it, you can kind of like zhuzh the bow up. You can adjust the length of your bow loops. If you want them drapey like this, you can keep them long. You can kind of like shift it so the bow faces more out. So it just takes a little bit of like noodling, but that's kind of the overall look. And then I'm gonna make sure the tails kind of drape over the outside of the wreath when I hang it. This might be a better angle. I wasn't sure how it was looking on the camera, but that's kind of the vibe we're going for. I'll have to do some more adjusting of the wire branches at the top once I get these hung, but I'm not gonna mess with it too much because it'll look different when they're hung, and I wanna make sure it's like perfected when they're on the actual windows. I just brought the rest of the wreaths in, so I have these 2 big tubs, and they fit nicely in here because they're all like squished down, but once I fluff them up, they're not gonna fit anymore. So I think what I'll do is take them all out, cut the ribbons for the loop and the bow, and then kind of work my way through fluffing each wreath, tying the bow and the loop around them, and then I'll just like stack them in the kitchen somewhere, and hopefully once I get into a rhythm, I can get through these pretty quickly. I will make sure to include the link to these. I got them back in August from Michael's. I think they were 50 or 60% off, so they were like maybe $4.50 or $5 each. They're just the PVC wreaths, so they're not like the most real looking, but from afar, I think they'll look great, and they're certainly the most affordable for the number of windows that we have. The other thing I forgot to mention was that I'm just burning the ends just the tiniest bit to get rid of any of the frayed edges. If you don't do that, they'll slowly unravel, so if you just use a lighter and kind of like burn them, it almost creates this like nice finished melted edge, and that way throughout the winter when these are hanging outside in the weather, I don't have to worry about them unraveling. Tied. I'll have some additional fluffing that I need to do once I get them hung, but I figured I don't need to totally do that now because they'll fit in the bins better this way. But the hard part's done. I'm hoping to get outside early in the morning and then in the afternoon before the sun sets to screw in all of the cup hooks above the window frames, and then I'll take the ladder and kind of just slide that along the house and hang a wreath from each window, fluff the wreath, and situate the bow. I also have some decor I want to add to the front porch, but we'll see how far I get tomorrow in the daylight, and then we will reassess to see if I can fit anything else in. What started as a sunny, nice day has turned into a very cold, wet, rainy day. I was able to get the first 2 wreaths on the front under the covered porch up this morning before I sat down for work, and then when I stood up to go work on wreaths again, it was rainy. As much as I do not want to go outside in the rain because it's going to be freezing, I need to get these wreaths up, so I'm going to suck it up and get as much as I can done. I will probably leave the camera inside for most of it so it doesn't get all wet, but I'll try to get a few shots, and then of course once all the wreaths are up I will share that with you. I'm going to start by screwing in all of the cup hooks, and then I will bring like 2 wreaths out at a time and hang them just so I don't have to stand in the rain the whole time and the wreaths don't get like soggy and floppy before I even have a chance to put them in their final position. It actually stopped raining a bit, so this is what the first floor is looking like. It was actually pretty easy once I had the hooks kind of screwed in up here. These windows are the original windows and those already had hooks, so I think whoever lived here before must have hung wreaths, but I added them to these windows. Now I need to work on the top windows. I think I might be able to do that from the inside, so I'm going to try it out and see if that works. And then we have 2 windows above this covered porch roof, and I need to set the ladder up like much taller in order to get up there. I think there's already hooks up there, but I just need to safely get on top of the roof to hang the 2 wreaths. Okay, so I am upstairs, and what I'm going to attempt to do is take the screen off from the inside and then pull down the top sash and screw the cup hook in from the inside. And that way I can kind of slide the wreath through the window and hook it to the cup hook that way, instead of having to set the ladder up from the outside, which will be like 2 stories tall and a little bit sketchy. Alright, that actually worked out well. I'm not going to put the screen back in. I will just wait until I take all of the wreaths down for the holidays. But now I'm going to do that same process for the other few windows upstairs, and then I'll go outside and kind of see how things are looking, and I might need to adjust. It's hard to like fluff them and set the bow just right from the inside, so I'm doing the best I can, and then it'll probably be a little back and forth. I don't know how well you can see, but I finished getting these 3 wreaths up yesterday, and they don't look all that bad considering I was doing it from the inside out, but it definitely made it easier than having to lug the ladder out and climb up 2 stories. So I'm happy with how everything is looking. The last wreath I wanted to wrap was this grapevine wreath. So this is the wreath I did in my very first YouTube video, and I collected all of these pine branches and created bundles and stuffed them all in, but it took a long time. So this year what I did was I got some wire garland so that I can kind of wrap it around this frame and create what looks like a big green wreath that I can reuse year after year, and then I will hang it from that hook up there. So I need to go get the garland and try to repair this a little bit. It got ran over, but I think we'll be able to wrap it and keep it intact. bunch of this wire garland to wrap around this wreath. So hopefully this will allow me to just do it once and reuse it year after year, and that way I don't have to reassemble it every year. The grapevines broke a little bit up here, but I think once we wrap enough of this around, it will kind of hold it together. At least that's what I'm hoping. So I'm going to give this a go. I have about 8 of these 10-foot strands, so I'll try to do it pretty thick so it looks nice and full, but we'll see how far we get with these and then reassess. Okay, now I remember what this big red bow is for. I had put this on the memory tree, but I actually used it last year for the big wreath on the barn. So I took it off the tree, I'm going to use it here, and then we will find a different bow to put on the top of the tree. We could definitely do with a larger bow. This one's a little bit tiny, but it's good for now. We will keep our eye out for a larger bow and possibly more of a burgundy so it matches the other wreaths for next year. And then I'll also be keeping my eye out for like a little spotlight we can stick in the ground that will shine up at it so it's lit at night. Okay, now we're moving on to the porch. I have more of this wired garland that I'm going to use to wrap around these posts. And then this year I also bought these string lights from Target. They're incandescent, which I prefer the color of, and I'm going to attempt to hang those or like drape them in some fashion along the top here. Alright you guys, that's it for exterior decor this week. I'm going to wrap up a few other small things and then I will share like a full Christmas tour in another vlog. I'm pretty happy with how the lights came out, but I just need to do a little bit of zhuzhing to make sure they're evenly spaced. And I want to pop a few bows on the little mini Christmas trees I have on the porch and things like that. We're getting there, we're almost there, but at least the wreaths are up for December 1st, which I'm very happy about. I'm actually getting ready to hit the road for a girls' holiday weekend in Newport, Rhode Island, which I will be bringing you along on, so stay tuned for that in an upcoming vlog. Thank you so much for watching this week. If you liked the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for future updates, and I will catch up with you in the next vlog.